land records to bring you free property title alerts. Deed fraud is real, but this service notifies you anytime a new record is filed with your name. Just visit our website, lincoln.clerkinfo.net, to sign up for text or email. That's lincoln.clerkinfo.net. Or give us a call at 365-4570, and we will be happy to help you sign up. Protect your property today. It's fast, free, and easy.
It is 8:04 at WPBK-FM 102.9. Carman Hancock is on the phone with us this morning.
And I'm going to introduce Carman in just a moment and tell you how we all got together on this. But first of all, Carman, how has it been going through Winter Storm Fern for you and your family? And I think you're more out west in western part of the state than we are. How's it been dealing with all this, Carman?
Well, good morning, Tim. Thanks for asking. That's sort of the topic of conversation this week, isn't it? I'm actually in Elizabethtown, and we have maintained power and water the entire time, which has been fantastic. So I don't know that I have much to complain about.
Well, good. Now, I also understand Carman is in E-Town, but she commutes back and forth to Frankfort from time to time. You've not had to do that this week, right? You're just working from home?
Just working from home. Yeah,
good.
Just working from home. And I'm so thankful that we have the ability to do that. So, yeah, I haven't had to get out there and brave the road.
Well, if there's anything that we learned from that dude that we all hate named COVID, working from home is a possibility for folks. And, I was a longtime teacher, Carman. Folks that listen to the morning show know that I taught for 31 years, and I honestly don't know that I could have done the distance learning and stuff that they've done. Like they're on NTI days today, and all my grandkids are on that and some things like that, because I was such a hands-on type teacher and things like that to do in the classroom. So, but I am thankful for our teachers and everything that they do. All right, so here's give everybody the background on this. People who listen to the morning show, and Carman and I have talked a couple times and just getting to know each other. She knows about my mother. My mother is in a wonderful nursing facility in Lexington called the Willows at Fritz Farm. For a long time, she was on private pay over in Danville at a place called Walker's Trail, which is also a part of a Trilogy company. And we have been tickled to death with her care and with everything that she has received. But the daunting process that I went through and a lot of other people go through to help their aging parents get eligible for Medicaid is something that when I talked to Bailey up here at our local DCBS office, which, by the way, they've been awesome. And I told you this, Carman, when I spoke with you guys, and also Beth, when I talked to Beth Fisher, that everybody from talking to them in Frankfort to our local office here has been more than helpful. I've not had one negative thing to say about any of them. It's just the process that has been so daunting. And I said, if we can help some young people get through to help their parents go through this, that's what I wanted to do. So the reason that you're on with us today, we're just going to talk in general terms and talk policy about the process, about getting someone eligible. So, I mean, you and I talked about where we start, what we want to talk about, but I mean, how do we know when our aging parents are even eligible to go on Medicaid and things like that? So take off, Carman, and I'll talk from time to time with you, and we're going to help some folks this morning.
Thank you, Tim. That's fantastic. And I want to say that I'm so thrilled that you had the experience that you had outside of, like you said, the daunting nature of the process. We truly are all here to help. We have the same end goal, whether it be the folks at DCBS or, in my office in Frankfort. We want people to get the care and the services that they need, and we want them to have access to those services and supports when they need them. So I'm so glad that you had, the experience that you did. I'll tell you a little bit about about what we do. So I'm the division director for long-term services and supports with Medicaid. We oversee a ton of programs that have to do with long-term care. And in order to access any of those programs, you do have to qualify for Medicaid. And like you said, that can kind of be the daunting part, the tricky part. So, when you're thinking about preparing, whether it be for yourself or a family member, a friend, a loved one, who is aging or who maybe has needs, that might require additional care, you do want to start getting yourself prepared. And as I was talking through some of my partners at DCBS and with our other agencies here in Frankfurt, we were sort of prepping for this conversation today. And what we came out of it really with, wanting to just let people know is be prepared. Make sure that you're saving all of your important documents in a location where folks know where they are. So bank statements, if you've got a 401k or a pension, retirement, life insurance policies, all of those important pieces of paper that we have. Make sure that they're in a place where you can access them, where your loved ones know where they are as well. So that would be one consideration, is just being prepared. Outside of that, make sure that you have any legal sorts of matters in order. So if someone requires a power of attorney, for instance, make sure you've got that in order. If someone has, other needs outside of that, make sure you have a will, that sort of thing. So just getting things like that in order. And as you're sort of preparing for what does this look like or when is it time, you want to sort of think about a couple of angles. One of them being, what's the type of care that my loved one needs? Do they need in-home care? Would they qualify for like a private duty nursing or a home health type service that would allow them to stay in the home right now and be safely supported? Or are they in a place where they really require more round-the-clock sort of nursing facility type care? So what is it that they need? Also, what is the source of the need? Is it an aging need? Is it more disability related? Is it someone who has intellectual or developmental disabilities? Is it someone who maybe has a brain injury and has a different set of needs there? So our long-term services and supports actually has programs to support all of those different types of diagnoses and experiences. So even outside of the nursing facility, like what you were talking about with your mom, if someone has a set of needs that's sort of beyond normal care, no matter the age, it's likely that we have a program that can support them.
Awesome. Carman Hancock is our guest this morning. She's with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and she's actually speaking to us this morning from E-Town, but she commutes back and forth to Frankfurt some to work there. One of the things that I've heard people say a lot of times, Carman, over this process with my mother for the last few years, and I told you this, my mom was someone who did exactly what we're talking about a lot of times, because she worked for the Kentucky State Department. I mean, she worked in this. She was in the food stamp part, but she would read cases and help to determine the eligibility for food stamps. So Mom, even though her physical disabilities keep her from moving around a lot, her mind is still sharp, so she helped us a lot. But there's so many people that I've talked to that said no one teaches us how to take care of our aging parents and how to go through this process. And one of the things that I always hear about, Carman, is the 5-year look back. Everything that people say, well, now, if there's anything in their name in the last 5 years, you're going to have to prove that. And I certainly did, because my mother owned some property. She sold that property. I even went all the way back, to find the deed of the sale and things like that. And then we kept everything, like you said, with as far as paperwork goes. All of her bank statements to prove, that we used that money for that. But talk a little bit about that 5-year look back that everyone talks about. And when do we know when to take everything out of our parents' names so that they're no longer affected by that 5-year look back?
Well, that's a good question. So yes, so the 5-year look back, what they're looking at, and I don't want to get into technical speak here per se, but what they're looking at is resources. So resources sort of generally would be some of those things that I mentioned before: cash, checking or savings accounts, like you mentioned, property, like a home, vehicles, if you have a trust, that sort of thing. So we're looking at resources, and they do a 5-year look back to take a look at what you said, the example that you gave with your mom. There was the sale of a home,
mm-hmm.
And one of the things that 5-year look back is taking into account is ensuring that there weren't nefarious things done.
Yes.
To get rid of resources simply for the fact of qualifying for Medicaid,
yes,
or
ma'am.
some other some other program. So, and what that means is, let's say you had a vehicle that was worth $20,000, market value, but you just wanted to get rid of it because you really needed, you're planning for this, you need to qualify, so you sell it for $2,000. Well, that's not going to look good.
Right.
So it's that sort of thing that they're looking at. So there is that 5-year look back period on your resources, and I will say, when we're talking about resources, the thresholds are different. Whether you're single, married, what your family living situation is. So the allowable resource limits are going to vary from person to person. And that's where, as you mentioned, if you're working with your local DCBS office, that's where those folks come in really handy. They're the ones that are going to be able to answer questions about what counts as a resource, what was an allowable transfer of that resource, and then doing all of those calculations to determine when you've met that limit to be able to qualify for Medicaid, which is going to be different from situation to situation.
My brother and I work together. By the way, we're talking with Carman Hancock with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services on WPBK-FM. And Carman is helping us understand the process about getting I'm specifically talking this morning about elderly folks because I have so many friends who are in my age group who are going through this, and I feel like that, if we can help them to understand the process, then it'll make it easier for them to go through it. And so you talk about being prepared earlier. My brother and I, at the prodding of our mother, we got POA, power of attorney, years and years ago, simply because my mom, like I said, had worked with the cabinet and knew that. But Carman, one of the questions that's come up a lot of times is, what do people do when they don't have someone like myself, who I consider to be an educated person who, like I said, I taught for many years and I understood the process, and there were times when I would get a little bit out of sorts with it too. But what do people do basically when they don't have someone? Are there people that work with them through our local DCBS offices and say, okay, here's what we need to help get you eligible for this?
That's spot on, Tim. Yes, that's why there are folks at the DCBS offices. You said that you worked with a wonderful lady named Bailey.
Yeah.
So we have Baileys in every office across the state. And there is a DCBS office in every county. You can just walk in to the DCBS office. We have a phone number you can call your local DCBS office. We also have a program called Connectors, and they are also a resource that can help sort of talk through the process, talk through preparation and that sort of thing. But really, those people out there in Kentucky who are going to work you through this process is going to be your DCBS office.
Carman Hancock is our guest this morning, and I do have the basic number that I call every time is 855-306-8959, 855-306-8959, and I already have it saved into my phone, and I know how to navigate and push the right buttons and things to get me to someone. And if I didn't talk to someone immediately, they would always call me back. So we talk about this process, Carman, that's called the spin down, to where if people have resources of their own, and I can only use my situation as being through it. With my mother's situation, we knew based on how much it cost her per month where she was living and her other things that she would pay for and things like that. Basically, we knew down to a couple of months to where she was going to have to try to get on Medicaid to where they would pay for her long-term care. Now, based on what my mother makes on her pension from the state and because of her Social Security, her liability is we pay a certain portion of her liability to the nursing home, the facility, and then the state picks up the rest of it. What do people need to know about that income threshold? What's the number that people can be under to apply for the long-term care and for Medicaid?
That's a good question, Tim. So again, like I said, it is going to vary, single or married, and what your living situation is. But in general, that magic number is $2,000. So you want to ensure that the person who you're getting Medicaid for doesn't have resources that exceed $2,000 at any one time. And like you said, a process to get there would be a spend down, using other more creative methods like trust. That's also not sort of a hard and fast number either. If you're in a scenario where you truly need the services and you might be really close to that income threshold, there are some other sorts of considerations like a special income standard or qualified income trust that can allow you to still qualify for Medicaid and not be over that $2,000 limit by making contributions to like that qualified income trust every month. You also mentioned patient liability, which is sort of, I think it's not a concept that a lot of folks know about, but essentially, again, based on your income, there is a calculation that I can't do. The folks at your DCBS office could do it.
Yeah.
There's a calculation that they do that essentially determines what your monthly responsibility is towards your care. For many people, that patient liability will be zero. But if it's someone, again, who has more resources and who might be contributing to like that qualified income trust or under a special income standard, they might have a higher patient liability every month.
And Carman, we also learned, as we're speaking with Carman Hancock this morning with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and we're talking about helping our maybe our aging parents or maybe people out there listening right now who are just aging themselves into Medicaid and to where they could actually become eligible for this. One of the things that we learned with my mom in going from one facility to another is that what's called level of care. We had to learn about level of care, meaning that there is some time lapse when you go from one facility to another to meet that level of care in order for them to actually start the long-term care. That's one of the things that we looked at. And also, you've already mentioned insurance policies. The final thing that got us fully qualified for my mom was having the insurance company write a letter that says we had already, and we did this, pre-plan the funeral, take care of all that, get everything out of their name. I did not understand why the insurance was such a big deal until I found out that, well, basically it is that she could have, as if we would have, or if my mom would have, drawn money from that. So insurance plans, life insurance, is considered an asset. And I had no idea about that.
It is. Well, depending on the type of policy. If it's a term policy, typically there is no sort of cash value. But if it's a whole life policy, it is considered an asset. It does have a certain amount of cash value that you could draw out if you wanted to. So yeah, that does count as an asset, or in Medicaid speak, a resource.
Yeah, and that the resources is what they actually look for in order for that look back to make sure that you are under the limit to be qualified. You also mentioned a qualified irrevocable trust, or an individual trust. We established one of those for my mother as well because, like you mentioned, based on what she actually makes with her pension and with her Social Security, we transfer, and again, this is just all a learning process, but we transfer part of that money from her pension and Social Security into the qualified irrevocable trust, but then we turn right around and pay out of that because that's what her liability is. So, we make sure that we have that all paid for. And then also they get to keep $60 a month. Some people have said $60 a month, that's not very much to let them pay, but listen, they'll let them keep. But when I see how much the state of Kentucky is actually paying into, I know for the facility where my mother is, I'm like, hey, that, $60 a month compared to what they pay is amazing.
That's true. I mean, $60 a month, it doesn't sound like a lot, but like you said, everything else is taken care of.
Yes.
It's not just, as you've seen as in your own experience, when you have a loved one in a nursing facility, this is not just, a place where they go and live. This should be their home. And, they have, it should feel like home, but everything's taken care of, not just the medical care, but you're going to have your laundry taken care of, all of your meals, that sort of thing. So yeah, the state of Kentucky does pay a lot for those services. And, we've been going through over the last a few years, a very intense nursing quality improvement throughout the state. So we're even, continuing to take efforts and have oversight to make sure that those nursing facilities that people are in are the absolute, top-notch, best quality, places for people to be living potentially, at the end of their life.
Carman Hancock is our guest this morning, and she's with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Now, I'll be honest with you, Carman, I did not use this site, but I know a lot of people have KYNECT, ky.gov. It's just KYNECT, ky.gov, and everything is on there for the benefits. Honestly, for me, it was just easy to call and talk to someone and get the paperwork and the packet together and then present everything that I needed. But I know that's an awesome resource that you want to point folks to. Absolutely. Connect. And I mentioned that earlier. We call them our connectors. So that is a resource, the KYNECT. You mentioned the DCBS phone number earlier. That is the statewide DCBS phone number. Connect also has a phone number,
So if you're someone who doesn't want to navigate the website, you could reach one of our connectors by calling 855-459-6328. There are plenty of people out there who don't want to navigate a website, or it's overwhelming, or it's too much, or perhaps they don't even have that ability in their home. So we do have those statewide phone numbers that we'd love for people to call.
Carman Hancock is our guest this morning, and I know we're taking about 30 minutes of your time, Carman. I certainly appreciate that. But as you look down your list at some of the things that you've certainly worked with, and I want to thank again Beth for getting us in touch with each other, and I know the people in your office have worked hard on this. In fact, I would love to do some more interviews and things like this, because I know there's many other services as well, like K-CHIP, and it's not just elderly people. I mean, there's children, there's low-income adults, there's parent and caretakers, pregnant and postpartum women, people with disabilities. I mean, I'm coming at this from the standpoint of the elderly because of my mother. But Carman, there are so many other things that the government helps deal with.
There are, and like I mentioned earlier, we have programs that support not only the aging and the elderly, but folks who have intellectual developmental disabilities, people who have sustained a brain injury. We have programs for folks who are ventilator dependent, 12 or more hours a day. Also, something really cool that I wanted to mention, especially from the aging side, is a program called PACE, Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly. This is for people who are 55 or older, who have needs but can still live at home, and they can connect with a local PACE center who, if they qualify, will essentially take over the responsibility for all of their care needs as they age. There's home health, there's private duty nursing for people who can still remain in their home. And we've just, again, outside of the scope of the elderly or aging, we just went live with another brand new program on January 1st for youth who are under the age of 21 who have very complex behavioral health or intellectual and developmental disabilities needs. And that actually has a housing component, which is something we haven't had in our state before. So we have so many exciting, programs and services that help people at any stage of their life, depending on their needs.
Carman, it has been a pleasure to speak with you this morning. I feel like that I've made a new friend with you and Beth and everybody, and I know that it is a process, and some people get, even sometimes I would go to the mailbox, and when I would see that action required written on the outside of it, I'm like, oh Lord, what do I have to do now? And then I would go back and I would do this and I would go back, but it was all for the betterment of, my mom and getting her the assistance that she needs. And, our elderly and our folks who have gone through this life, they definitely deserve it. One final question for you. Someone just texted in and said, all right, so once they are qualified, are there recertifications this is a good question. I was going to ask you this too. Is there a yearly, biannual recertification that people need to go through? I mean, I would assume that when they're living in a facility, there's not much changed, but are there recertification processes?
There is. There's an annual recertification process. Annual,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then they would just touch base with the families and just say, we're just checking in. I mean, maybe some more of the bank statements or something like that they would ask for after a year or so.
That sort of thing, and then ensuring that the person still has the same need.
Yes.
You mentioned level of care. Are they getting the right level of care now? Do they need something different? Do they need something more? or maybe something less, which, doesn't often happen with our elderly folks. But, they'd take a quick look at resources for the past year, make sure that the person still qualifies based on their needs, so that level of care. And it's typically not, an incredibly cumbersome process like that first time around.
Okay.
But there is an annual assessment.
Okay, good deal. Well, I tell you what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you guys, maybe every few months or so, maybe I could check back in with you all and say, hey, let's do another quick update, because I know that unless the people were listening right at this time this morning, they may not have heard it. But I will tell you this, Carman, we've run an archive on this. We don't have the capability to archive every single morning show because the cloud space is just incredible. But I want to thank Philip for running the archive for this. So just as soon as we get finished with this, he'll upload that to our YouTube channel, and you might even want to point folks to that to our YouTube channel. I'll send you the information for that, and you can say, hey, listen, we did a really good overview about the process, and you have done a wonderful job with us this morning, Carman. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you, Tim. I appreciate it, and I'm so happy to help, so happy to share the information. We really are here to help. We want your loved one, yourself, your family member, whomever, to get the services and supports that they need when they need them. So we truly are here to help. Just call.
All right, I will. Thank you, and be sure to pass on to Beth and to everyone else that was involved in this morning how much we appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Stay safe. There's Beth. Beth Fisher was my contact. Carman Hancock on with us this morning from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. I certainly appreciate her. And just as soon as we get this all ready, it'll be uploaded on our YouTube channel, and you can go back and listen to it. 8:36.